And what's more difficult is being found in a passive way. Because we're not embraced really by any major media. We're not a platinum seller, and we're not on the talk shows or MTV or radio. It's more difficult for the casual user to accidentally find us. So that's more difficult. It's more difficult to fill a big bar or a concert hall with people. But what's easier is that when people do find us, there's an implicit credibility that the band already carries forward, i.e., if a friend of yours recommends a band or an artist highly, there seems to be an endorsement already in that recommendation. So when people come to see us, I think they almost have a predisposition to, in some way, admire the band. So when we get new people in front of us when we're playing or buying albums or coming to Mexico, it really seems easy to resonate with them, to create community, to blur the line between band and audience. And so that's easier. I think that our message is heard more clearly because of the way it's spread. It's peer-to-peer instead of through major media that's selling advertising.
Right, okay. And that's interesting, because I was going to ask you about how, I don't know, I'm reading your little one sheet here, and it's got some quotes from various newspapers, and it's kind of interesting to see people like the Rocky Mountain News right here in Denver says universal appeal, and other here someone talks about how Springsteen and Matchbox 20 fans will dig this and all of this, and so on one hand it's very like catchy commercial music, but on the other, you know, I read the lyrics and it's so personal, and I think and follow me here, I hope this is making sense.
That makes perfect sense. I'm a big fan of paradoxes, actually.
Okay, and what I think mainstream music, you know, quote unquote or whatever, gets kind of criticized for a lot is that it's, you know, it's bland or it doesn't have anything to say or whatever. But this seems the opposite of that. So can you kind of talk about, I hope that makes sense, and can you talk about the kind of paradox between these really catchy, you know, songs that you do, but then the, I don't know, kind of meaning in them or something like that?
Well, thank you. No, I think that's a great thing to comment on. I'm a fan of ear candy kind of music. I'm a big fan of pop format. You know, like I think Nevermind the Bollocks is a pop album done by a punk band.
Okay.
I think that, you know, Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass greatest hits to this 10 of the greatest songs ever written. There's just something universally great and appealing and substantial about those, but those are pop records. And so I grew up on that kind of music. Everything is disparate. It's, you know, Sex Pistols to, like I said, Herb Alpert, or REM to U2 to, you know, JFA or Thelonious Monk. There's something in the presentation that is inherently, when I say pop, it's like, can almost be popular. There's something recognizably, what is the word, appealing to those.
Okay.
And I think that, you know, I tried to emulate in my early writing the musical stylings, the chord progressions, the tempos of those artists, as disparate as they are. That's sort of a pop string that runs through disparate kinds of music. What I find today, or in my humble opinion, is that music is more assembled by major record companies, by people who seek to make it commercial first before it speaks to people. They become like the clip art. Music's become almost this clip art. It already exists out there, but the major labels seek it such that, or they can put it together, package it, and it doesn't matter if it has any meaning, if it speaks to anybody. And in that sense, I believe it's overtly commercial, for better or for worse. Everybody wants their entertainment. But we shouldn't call it the music industry anymore. We should just call it the entertainment industry. Because musicians sometimes are independent of the entertainment industry. You know, I know plenty of musicians who simply don't entertain me. They're But yet I can find meaning, and they can be very disturbing, or very shocking, or very, in some way soothing. I guess it's entertaining. What am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say that when we began this band, PH and I had a manifesto. We believed that quality should precede quantity. That if the music had a voice, that had a quality that spoke to people, and then quantity could follow. But we never thought we should assemble it to create quantity first, because there would be no structure. There would be no armature for it to support itself later. I don't think that a quantity structure would later on support somebody who wanted to try to grow into a quality structure. In any case, okay. I also thought that art should definitely lead commerce. And so what we have is we have pieces of art, and we assign them some degree of message and humble meaning in at least our own hearts, and we put it out there to the people. And if they respond, they may pay for it with a $1 bill. And if so, we're lucky. We're not only artists, but we also get to make a living. But that's the way we want to do it. In our manifesto, we want art to lead commerce and quality to lead quantity. And I'm also, like I said, a fan of paradoxes. I like to be able to be someone. Now, I hope I'm not speaking out of both sides of my mouth, but I like to be somebody who can mix mirth and meaning, conscience and celebration together, such that you can shake your ass and actually be awakened in some way socially at the same time. I think that's effective communication.
Okay. Excellent. And then kind of on that note, can you tell me about, I know this is another big question, but can you tell me about some of the, the stories and some of the meaning in the albums? I mean, maybe just in Americano, because I know that there's kind of a story behind it in itself, or what kind of like myths and, tales are you trying to tell with this kind of stuff?
Oh, so wait, one more time, what is the question exactly?
Yeah, sorry, that's a long one. Just basically, can you tell me about some of the meanings behind your songs, some of the stories you're trying to tell?
I would hesitate to inject too much overt meaning on my behalf, because a lot of times, I think probably most of the time, the listener will create his or her own meaning in a song, and it might be deeper, might supersede, it's probably more personal and meaningful to an individual, to a listener. Okay. In any case, Americano, for example, like the song Counterclockwise, for example, was meant to endorse free thinking, and I tried to use images about, for example, lightening my load in some way, taking off bought a poncho and sandals, threw away my shoes, unclad